Good evening. I'm Rudy Bettis with the Arizona Department of Transportation, and I have the privilege of being the project manager for this extremely very important Arizona-Sonora Border Master Plan. And the Arizona-Sonora Border Master Plan is one of 5 regional border master plans along the U.S.-Mexico border that are being sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration and their counterpart in Mexico City, the Secretaría de Comunicaciones y Transportes, or SCT, as they're known. The objectives of the Arizona-Sonora Border Master Plan is to develop and implement a plan for identifying, prioritizing, and promoting land port of entry, multimodal transportation, and rail projects along the Arizona-Sonora border. The other objective is to design a process to ensure that stakeholders, such as yourself, are part of this process and are involved in this process, and to increase the understanding of the planning process on both sides of the border. And then also to formalize and institutionalize this process so that this is an ongoing process which will be updated every 2 or 3 years.
So where are we now? We had a kickoff meeting back in December 2011. We developed the work plan and the stakeholder outreach plan. Both of those were approved by the Policy Advisory Committee. We identified a focus area, and basically the focus area is a 10-mile swath on either side of the border. And in those areas, we're looking to identify projects that will assist in cross-border mobility. And I'll show you a map of that in a minute or two. We also had an area of influence which goes much further beyond that 10-mile zone, as far north as, let's say, Tucson, or more appropriately, the I-10 corridor to the east part of the state, or I-8 to the west part of the state. Again, I'll show you a couple of maps. We completed technical memo number 1, which is a review of the existing conditions at each of the ports, the roadways, and the railways within our area of influence. Tech memo 2 was specifically looking at the ports. And then working paper number 1 was a compilation of all those studies looking at the existing and progressing and forecasting into the future. And that one is now final. Alice, is that up on the website, the final working paper number 1? If not, it will be in the next week or so. All right, key dates. I mentioned we had our kickoff meeting, which was held in Tucson back in December. We completed tech memos 1 and 2, and then you can see that we've had technical working group meetings and a couple of bullets on our accomplishments at those meetings. As Rudy mentioned, the technical working group is technicians that have assisted the consultant team in compiling a list of all the studies, all the data for projects in this focus area. And they've been very helpful with that. The Policy Advisory Committee is more of the approval group. As we make recommendations, we need to get approval before we go on to the next phase of the project. Typically, we try and get these meetings around other activities like the Rural Transportation Summit, which was held in Yuma, the Arizona-Mexico Commission, which was held back in February in Puerto Peñasco. And here's some other deadlines. Looking at working paper issues, you'll also see a meeting in Mexico City. I think it's really important to recognize that the intention is for this to be a binational study. So Rudy has arranged for us to travel to Mexico City to meet with SRE, which is, I guess, the equivalent of the State Department here, SCT, which is more the equivalent of the Federal Highway Administration here in the United States. And again, try and compile enough data so that as we prepare a list of recommended projects, there's a synergy between Sonora, Mexico, and Arizona in the U.S. We had our first stakeholder outreach meeting in May. And obviously here I show in red, here we are today, August 2nd. We have several more meetings, including one in Hermosillo. And then ultimately we will generate what we call the Border Master Plan report somewhere around Thanksgiving this year. And that will document all of our efforts from December 13th, 2011 to Thanksgiving of this year. Now,